Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Welcome to 2023. My New Year's resolution is to actually make more than a video once a month this year, or at least try to. But there's going to be a caveat to that. I'm going to try to move into more shorthand content because I think that consistency is more important than verbosity. And if anything, the recent events in my life have kind of shown me that how important it is for people to be informed and to talk about information regarding situations within a community. And even if it is something that people don't pay attention to 90% of the times, the 10% that they do can save lives. And the reason I'm saying this is because of what happened during the Christmas holiday here. I was away. I had to cancel my Saturday stream because I had to leave the city. For those of you who don't know, I live in the Buffalo metro area, somewhere around Erie, and we had a historical storm. We've had like two once in a generation storms, like a month separated from each other, and I don't know if it's going to be any different for the next few months. Hopefully it is, but the lake still isn't frozen, so we could still get nasty lake effect bans. That being said, it comes to the idea of being being well informed, and I think the lesson for 2023 is for me to try to batten down a little bit, stop being so freaking lazy, and try to move forward, providing more content for this channel, and also cleaning house a little bit on the channel as well. There are some older videos that I don't think really stem the test of time, or not really as relevant anymore, and don't really provide information that's really all that great. I do have every recorded video saved on hard drive somewhere, so I do have a record of it. But thinking of the way that our world has kind of changed, where everything is sort of part of the record, even our videos, I think that sometimes videos lose their value over time, and sometimes that it's fine to remove things that no longer hold all that much value. So I will be going back through some of the older videos, looking for like timely statements or things that don't really things that are not as evergreen, and sort of trying to pair them off a little bit, maybe make them unlisted. Because, people, as they grow and as they create more content, they can look back at some of their older content and say, well, that's not my best foot forward. Though leaving some of them that are evergreen, even with the I'm not gonna go back and go, hey, look, that one I stuttered too much. I'm going to get rid of it because people can't know that I stuttered at one point. I think that it's important to see growth. I think it's important. I love it when artists share like those old pictures that they did when they first started doing things, and then like how they improved over time, because it gives people confidence that you don't start off in a good place. You have to work at it, and you have to put effort into it. And I think over the course of the period of 2022, and even starting into the pandemic, like I had this sort of ebbing of my ability to keep things going. Now I've kept Flare afloat by publishing things that got on there, and it looks like there's some new people coming in who want to write articles, and that's awesome. I'll still be focusing on that primarily, but I want to try to keep this channel going for the next few months. There's a bigger plan that's going to be coming around at the end of August, I think, and I will keep you informed of that as it comes. But information is important. We have in our hands, we have the technology that people in the 60s, like if the CIA knew about technology like the smartphone here, if they knew about technology like that in the 60s, they would have killed for it. You have the ability to learn and develop skills and get good information. but you also have the capacity to be misinformed. You have the capacity to run into, you may have the power to share your plight with people on the phone, but you're just as powerless. And even, you can be just as powerless and not know what to do in certain circumstances. And one of the, haunting situations that happened in the Buffalo storm was, a person was recording themselves on video, trapped in their car, and they ended up losing their lives, even though they were sending videos to their family and loved ones. And it's kind of scary in a way that, we use our phones as somewhat of a window into the world, but the world can still impact you. Like, the world is going to impact you whether or not you're engaged in it or not. And the phone can only do so much. And so on the other end, like, if you plan things out, if you think of things beforehand, if you have foresight, the storm didn't come out of nowhere. And I think for most of the 40 people who unfortunately lost their lives, I think there's an element of luck to it. Like, people have to work. There are certain people who are, who are in a position where they can't easily say no to their boss, or don't have vacation time to use, and don't have like sick time that they kind of have to use because they might have to use it for their actual illness instead of anything like that. So there is absolutely an element of luck. And I think that for most of the people, I believe that unfortunately had something to do with it. But on the other hand, there was also, being informed. And in this case, the weather people were exactly correct. I remember watching the system trying to come in, a week before it came in, because I have to travel for the holiday. It's only a 3-hour drive, but it's still a drive. And when you see a winter storm coming, you go, okay, well, when's it going to hit, and what time? So, you use your resources. I use Weather Underground. Some people use Weather Channel. I think Weather Channel is a bit too corporate. I like Weather Underground. It was one I learned about back in my college days when I was at Oswego State. And Weather Underground, has, it has good information without all what I think is like CGI fluff and stuff like that. So, I found that there was another video of another forecasting person saying like there was 2 possible paths of this thing. One was going straight across the U.S. and one was going down and going back up. But both situations had Buffalo being hit on Friday, and I'm like, why are we the Venn diagram in both scenarios? But I knew that at that point, like, I was going to have to plan my vacation around that. So I took the Thursday off, and, I planned to come back on Monday, or I planned to come back after Monday to come back into work on Tuesday. But this swing was so historic that I left basically perfect. My exit from the city was like dead on. Like, it was like I left at 6:30 because I saw that the 10-hour the 10-hour forecast, like the hourly forecast, for Friday, the Friday before Christmas was going to be snow at about 8:30, right? And I hear that it's like, well, when it turns to snow, like, it's going to be raining really hard, and then it's going to go, and it's going to flip over to snow, and it's going to be snowy, and then it's like going to be instantly. So it's like there's freezing things. The other thing I heard was it's a bomb cyclone, which is never good. So those are 2 things. Then there's going to be lake effect, which is 3 things, and then it's going to be a nor'easter, which is 4 things. And it's like, there's not really a Fujita scale or like an F scale or a category for blizzards, but 2 of any of those things in combination is a concern. All 4 at the same time, when you're hearing those words using interchangeably in certain circumstances, is like, I'm not going to mess with this thing. So I'm gonna leave when it's raining, and because I did also look to where I was heading, which was to the east, for about, as I said, 3 hours, and that 3 hour move east was basically like the weather forecast out there was like, it's gonna be snowy, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be like there's gonna be cold wind and blowy and light snow, but it's not gonna be like it's not gonna be like white stuff all over the. It's not gonna be like a cocaine party or anything like that. It's just gonna be light, like donut glaze, like powdered donut instead of like cocaine party, like that sort of level. So I was like, if I get out to there, and just like hang my head there for the weekend, we should be fine. But enough, I was supposed to come back on Tuesday, but Tuesday, like 2 hours after I left, it became like Dante's lowest circle of hell in Buffalo. And the people who had to stick around and freaking fight this thing and get through it, like the stories are just insane. And the people who stayed and fought and did that thing, I always you got stories to tell for sure. I was just a fortunate person who got to sidestep the thing before it came in. And I timed it basically perfectly. I got out at 6:30. By the time I got to Onondaga County, which is where I was heading, it basically became really shitty out here. So I'd left at exactly the right time because they started closing the roads. People were stuck. Basically, it flashed in so fast that people were on the roads, and then all of a sudden there was zero visibility, and then people couldn't figure out if they were on the road or not. So and there was like snow gathering on the road really fast, and so the cars started to kind of smatter on the roads and just kind of block traffic. It was really, really bad. Ironically, when I left at about 6:30, there was already an accident on the opposite side of the 90, on the opposite side of the freeway, with like a tractor trailer and two cars, and it was only raining. It was only raining at 6:30 a.m. So I'm figuring someone like fell asleep at the wheel or didn't have their coffee yet, or something. I'm like, it's too early, guys. It's not even bad yet. But I couldn't get back until Tuesday. Like I literally had to call in a quote unquote sick day because I had left on Tuesday because the roads in the office and at my house were closed. Like I couldn't drive on them. They weren't allowing people to drive until late Tuesday. So basically my holiday was mostly spent in Onondaga County, and even more so because I was supposed to be back a day earlier, but I couldn't get back. When I came back, the snow was pretty high up. I had to climb over a snowbank and stuff like that. And now if you looked outside, it's almost as if it didn't snow at all. Like there's some banks here and there, but most of the lawn I can see. It turned from cold to hot really quick, and that's why the freaking lake isn't warming. And it's been that way. Like we had that big one in November, and it got really snowy, and then it disappeared, and then this got really snowy again, and it disappeared. So it's like this whole bipolar thing going on in Erie County right now, where we get hit with these like major snowstorms that like stop things for like a few days, and then like almost boom, like like a week's time, it's almost all gone, and it's gone, right? It's weird. It's like as if somebody just came out and sniffed all the cocaine. It's just like, dude, come on, leave some behind. People like snowmobiling and stuff and skiing. Like, this is not right. Like, you're making things really damp and muddy. Luckily, it's mostly flat around here. Otherwise, I'd be worried about like landslides and stuff like that. More like worried about like little flooding and stuff like that. But anyways, like I came back as soon as I technically possibly could. I came back on the freeway in the afternoon, And by the time I had stopped at the rest stop after Rochester, it was like everything had just opened up. And it's like just almost as soon as I had gotten on there. I didn't leave until I knew that the roads around my house were able to be drive on legally, but the freeway was still closed. And then by the time I got to almost where the freeway was closing, all of a sudden the freeway was open up again. The funny thing is like you go from Onondaga and it's like there's this clean, like some light dusting, and as I moved closer and closer and closer to Buffalo, like the snow just started coming up and up and up, and it was like until it was like, oh, look at that, look at all that. It was nuts. It was definitely something I've never seen before, and for sure, as I said, the weather people were spot on with it, and I listened to them, and I took the appropriate action, and I got through the holiday safe, and not everyone can say that. It's kind of like it's a combination of people know things are going to be bad, but they don't know what options they have. Some people have some options, some people don't. And I'm thankful that I was able to take the correct course of action and was able to get through it all right. And I think many people did. We lost 40 people. And that's a lot, but it's also could have been worse. Honestly, I think that had I basically let me just say this: if there wasn't such a thing as weather, forecasters and people that do that kind of a thing, I would have been blind to it. I would have tried to leave on like Saturday morning or something like that and just planned on that, and then basically on Friday I would be like, I don't know, I can't go anywhere, and basically I would have had to have spent Christmas, trapped in my house. I don't think I lost power during the whole thing. I kind of checked that, but I think I would have been fine, hunkering down and staying in the place. But for sure, a lot of people worked really hard to get our roadways cleaned up again. One of the funny aftermaths of the whole thing was driving to and from work after that incident. Even after they opened the roads, though, there were like 2-lane stroads. They call them stroads, like they're street and roads at the same time. They kind of have like 2 lanes on either side, and they're kind of have residential areas, but they're multi-lane and things like that. I have to drive on some of those things. During the first few weeks afterwards, there were some lanes that were closed in that they had plowed the center lanes on both sides of the road, but in some areas with heavier traffic, they would plow 2 lanes out. But during in the residential areas where there was technically not as much thoroughfare, they actually basically plowed it so that the right lane merges on point to the center lane, so that both opposing lanes had a bunch of snow on one lane, and there wasn't really any cones or anything, so you really had to pay attention to make sure that you had room to drive, and that you could actually still stay in your lane. They were pretty good about making sure that when they did that it was on a straightaway where there wasn't any blind corners or anything. You could see the snow bank kind of encroaching gradually into the lane instead of having it be like a freaking wall. So they did do good with that. It was the first time I've ever seen a technique like that used. I can understand why. I mean, you've got so many other places to plow and free out that you need to mitigate your resources properly to actually get roads to be active. There was some criticism about working out and going in, Buffalo. The Buffalo Metro, I think, was the last place to really get cleaned out. Number one, you have a lot of traffic and cars that are probably messed in there, but also number two is the whole point of an urban center is that you should be able to have a community where you're walking to each other. Unfortunately, for like my area, like any area that's like a suburb, as it were, a quote unquote suburb, you have that situation where the car dependence is a lot higher, so it makes it more difficult for people to get to the places they need to get to without with just plain old walking, especially out in cold temperatures like that. There was a story of another place in the area where some guy broke into a school to get people off of the street. His name was called Merry Christmas Joe. Like the guy was like out and about. He got caught up in the storm, and basically he and another group of people bust into a school and basically found food in the cafeteria. And they wrote an apology letter to the school saying, "We're sorry we busted in here, but we were trapped out in that storm and we needed to find shelter because it was getting really cold." Like it was cold. It got really cold and really bitter. Even out in Onondaga, it was crazy. But as I said, like the whole situation kind of made me think about, what good news, what good reporting is about. Good reporting isn't about getting one up on another person or trying to, have some sort of sparring duel with words or doing any of these like tit for tat arguments and trying to win some human election or anything like that. Good information is supposed to help people survive, help people get through things that otherwise we wouldn't. And I think in a way situations like this remind us that at the end of the day, nature's trying to kill us. You can say that there are people who wish you harm, and you can certain politicians can exaggerate that fear into the hearts of people. But at the end of the day, we're in this fight to keep ourselves healthy, happy, and alive together. We're in that fight together, and situations like this remind you of that. And that is where good information can help prevent yourself from getting caught out in the storm. And it did help me. So I'm very thankful for the people at Weather Underground and for the meteorologists who I had studied over that past week. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten stuck and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the holidays with my family. And to those of you who won't be able to enjoy the holidays with your family anymore, or lost loved ones in that, my condolences, sincerely. Hopefully the next time a storm like this comes around, hopefully we don't forget, and hopefully we ask of the people in power, like, how we better prepare as a community for these kind of things, and how we can help our community make it so that we don't feel like we have to go out and risk our lives for like a temporary trying to have feeling like you're desperate enough to have to leave during dire situations like that, and how to alleviate those kind of things. It's a discussion that needs to certainly be had, and certainly during even when those summer days are warm, it's definitely something that would be interesting, and very interesting to plan out and think about. But anyways, thank you very much for listening to me ramble for probably about 30 minutes now. As I said, in 2023, I plan to do some shorter form videos. That is sort of my main goal, because rambling videos like this are interesting in the sort of pundit/perspective kind of way. But I don't think it helps people really connect with information and data. And I want to try and take advantage of the shorts that sort of YouTube has now to get out information and quick information and bites and things like that. I think that'll be very useful for the fandom, and I hope to provide that for you in 2023, and I hope to do a good job. Thank you very much for watching and watching the whole way through. I'm very grateful for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Kick that like, kick a subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. I'll let you know when I start to try to clean house a little bit. It's going to be over the next few months, and I'll probably try to have a goal of getting at least 10 minutes of content up every week, even if it's like 2 short videos of like 5 minutes apiece, or like maybe 3 short. Like basically, I'm trying to think of a way to keep engaged so that you guys keep engaged and we all do better as a community, both near and far and at a local level. And grateful that a lot of people put the time in to make the world work in the way that it can. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. That's the plan anyway. Watch me flub this like every other freaking New Year's resolution. Hey, you can't break a New Year's resolution if you don't make them, right? Anyways, thanks guys.